Gamers Summer Circuit. This is the EU qualifier number 2, and we are one match in so far. Once again, I'm TJ. I'm joined by Aquablad, and we just saw a pretty quick series between KDG and Buckbeard. What did you think of that one, Aquablad?
Very strong series from KGG. We played excellent. I was a big fan of that Rogue versus Hunter game. There's some a lot of big decisions had to be made on both sides with high mains not going face. Unfortunate for Buckbeard there, but yeah, a very strong showing from KDG. Buckbeard fell a bit short with his Hunter. I think it let him down there, but he's going to be playing again, right?
Yeah, he'll be playing in the third place match after this next one. Yeah.
So hopefully he'll be able to show us what some of the other decks he's brought, and hopefully that Hunter won't let him down this time.
Yeah. All right. Well, next matchup is going to be Mirrari from My Insanity versus Tom60229 from the Woi Flash Wolves. And Tom, of course, Taiwanese player, very popular over in the Asian scene. He's got practice partners with a lot of the biggest players over there, like Wei Fu, Pimping Ho, Roger, names that you may hear from international tournaments because they do make it to quite a few. Tom plays in a crap ton of qualifiers, of online qualifiers, and this is just another one of those that he made it to the top 4 in, so it's another one that he could chalk on his resume. And both these guys have pretty similar deck lineups. They both have Warrior and Warlock. There's just a difference with Tom bringing Druid and Mirari bringing Hunter.
Yeah, well, the Warlock Warrior Hunter is what they call the Unholy Trinity at the moment, because the top 5 decks, apart from Rogue being kind of within 4th, 5th spot, it's generally Handlock Zoo, Patron Warrior, Mid/Hybrid Hunter, and Oil Rogue. Druid's not too far behind them, but there's a lot of opinions around that I've heard that people don't like Druid in Conquest, whereas so far we've seen the Asian players taking a liking to Druid and bringing Druid to this tournament.
Yeah. And, Druid was once upon a time touted as being the class that was like consistent. They'd be able to consistently win at least like one match. You'd win the match that you wanted to in like last hero standing format. But nowadays decks are becoming a little bit faster. There's a lot more things that can punish Druids early on, even if they do get wild growth and innervate starts. So the Asian players are the ones that are holding on to it. But we'll have to see how that's going to match up versus the Hunter. Mirari. It sort of seems like there's been a couple different types. There's been the players that are bringing lineups with Patron Warrior and the players that are bringing lineups to counter Patron Warrior, which is kind of a funny dynamic. And the first matchup is going to be the Druid from Tom and the Patron Warrior from Mirari.
So traditionally, Druid has always been known as a class that beats Warrior, but that was back in the days when Control Warrior was pretty much the only viable deck in the competitive scene. I mean, we had like Aggro Warrior from Reynad, and that was a long time ago, but Control Warrior has kind of always stuck around. But now things are a bit different. Swipe can be a very awkward card for Druid, because if it can't clear patrons, it can't, and patrons are really hard for Druid to deal with, especially if you make even 2 or 3 of them. They need Wraths, they need solid answers to get rid of them.
Yeah. And they have to deal with them like one by one, the patrons. So if they don't have like multiple ways of removal in their hand, when patrons come down, they pretty much just lose. Like they have to like Wrath 1, Keeper 1, and then Wrath another, or Wrath 1, Keeper 1, Swipe 1, and so it becomes really problematic.
Yeah, it creates kind of like an optimized play for the Druid. But one thing I would like to point out here is Harrison Jones. Now, I think weapon removal against Patron Warrior is especially important, and especially if you can get rid of a Death Spite.
Yeah.
Because the Whirlwind effect is such a big part of the game plan for Patron spawning so many tokens, and Harrison Jones, like right now, Harrison Jones coming up, he's actually going to mess up part of the plan. I mean, it doesn't completely cripple Patron Warrior, but it definitely slows things down.
Yeah, my thanks. Oh man, yeah. This is, since it was on curve, this is okay. A lot of times you want to save it too, like you said, it takes away the combo. It's like taking away a combo piece from a combo deck. I don't want to. It doesn't quite go as far as this, but it could sort of be like taking a force of nature out of the hand of your opponent. or something similar, because it just removes so much potential for damage from your hand. And he does have the second Despite, and now he's gonna try and be, or the Tom is gonna be a little bit sad that the second Despite was there and the Harrison wasn't as effective, because this is gonna be sort of the combo Despite now it's coming out.
Yeah, that's true, but I guess the one thing Tom might be happy with is... Oh, okay. See, I like that. I was thinking Druid the Claw is a decent play because it's got 6 health and he'll be able to tank some of this Death Spite, but what's clever here is he's played the Sylvanas, so he can't start any patron combos right now. He needs to clear the Sylvanas first, and he basically does what Harrison just did. He wasted the Whirlwind effect of the Death Spite.
Yeah. And also, Mirari's at 12 health.
Yeah, that's true. And we got a Savage Roar and 2 Druid of the Claw. So Tom has the option here to play more aggressively. He could probably go for the win soon.
Yeah, he sort of has to play aggressively. He's on a clock now. He doesn't have a... Oh, actually, he does have a way to deal with these patrons. He can deal with 3 of them. But I don't even know if he wants to go for that. He might just want to try and play super aggressively. He doesn't have a second piece of his combo. But the Druid of the Claw Savage Roar is 8 damage for 8 mana. Yeah, 8 damage for 8 mana.
So we could go for the option here of making 1 Druid of the Claw in charge this turn. Raffin the 5/1, so he gets a card draw as well. Might get an Innovate or something like that. And then he can attack face, which will take him down to 8. The next turn, he has the option of maybe setting up lethal with the Savage Roar and the other Druid of the Claw. But it looks like he's actually going to go for the partial clear here.
Yeah, the safer play. He's seen a lot of Whirlwind effects. He's seen Inner Rage, 1 straight-up Whirlwind, and both Death Spites. So he knows there's actually not too many ways left in the deck to combo with patrons. So he's thinking, well, once I remove this, wow, this hand is actually pretty good. I was going to say pretty ridiculous, but I don't know if it's necessarily ridiculous. He's actually just going to get Battle Rage on 2 cards. I think he's looking for other combo pieces. But he does have Cruel Taskmaster. He's got Warsong Commander. And
it looks like he's going to build some more health here.
Yeah, and...
I mean, another option he could have went for, he could have played the Warsong Commander, then Cruel Taskmastered, then Battle Rage for an extra card, and then have that more aggressive stance. But probably because he's so low right now, he wants to start building a bit of health up. So because he's still got board here, and Druid's still going to have a tough time trying to deal with this board.
Yeah. Whoa. So this, it actually might be starting to get a little bit out of reach for Tom here. Because now he's going to be playing 1 big creature a turn, and Mirrari has initiative. And when you have initiative with patrons on the board, it could feel like every single turn he's killing your stuff and making more of his own stuff, which is just it can get a little bit out of, or really out of hand very quickly. And he might just have to like Ancient of Lore here, but he's staring at 11 damage on the board. There's potential for quite a bit more from the hand. It's a rough position.
Yeah, it's a tough spot. I mean, he does have the option of Druid of the Claw here in Taunt and maybe Hero Power in a 5/1, but you're taking 4 damage to the face. And you, like I said, you don't know what this patron has locked in his hand ready. He could have more effects for generating more patrons, like an Execute, which we do see in his hand is very problematic for Tom if he decides to go for that Claw play. But Ancient of Lore, again, it's another... He just plays Ancient of Lore, or he draws, or heals, it doesn't matter. A 5/1's just going to run straight into it unless he gets an Innovate, so...
Yeah. He's going to have to charge in here to just clear the patrons. He can't really afford to allow the engine to just sit there on the board for Mirrari, so is forced to clear it off. But he gets another one. Oh, man.
It's fine. I've got my patron.
Yeah. Of course, he doesn't have a way to sort of activate it to spawn more, but he is going to be able to start keep piling on the damage here. And with Frothy Berserker in hand as well, he has a chance to make some big plays.
So he's managed to gain quite a bit of health actually since that turn where it was looking in Tom's favor. So he's managed to go back up to 18 health, which is starting to put him a bit more out of range of, say, the combo and such. And
Yeah.
here we go, swipe. Not as awkward as it could be because there are no patrons on the board, so he might consider an innovate swipe somewhere here. But I think he just needs to get rid of that Warsong Commander right now, because it's just a big. It's just going to prove a lot of trouble if, say, that Frothing Berserker does get dropped and
Yeah.
he starts to gain some attack from creature damage or whirlwind effects.
Uh, I think he wants to hold on to the innervate. I think he realizes that his only way to win is going to be to draw Force of Nature next turn and double combo. Because double combo would most likely kill him, because it'd be 22 damage, and Mirrari would have to gain more than 5 armor this turn, which doesn't seem too likely. But the Whirlwind, oh man, that's exactly the card that he wanted. Like, all the cards in his hand scream like Whirlwind, and I think that's lethal. That'll be an extra 6 damage from the frothing, so 8 plus... Oh yeah, that's lethal by far. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I believe he had 19 damage.
Wow. So Tom, looking like he was ahead for a while, all of a sudden Patron does its thing, and then it's gained health, it's gained board, and then it's gained like this explosive burst damage in one turn. This is what makes his deck so powerful. It's just
Yeah.
it just swings from like one end to the other just so easily sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, and most people will say, and you said it a little bit earlier, is Patron's favored in that matchup. I mean, Patron has most of their matchups are favorable, which is, or most of their matchups is like 50% at the worst. Maybe with the exception of Handlock, which is people are teching in BGH, so it's actually getting a lot better now. And getting the Patron out of the way, he pretty much knew he was going to get a win at some point with that. And now Tom does not have to worry about it. So they're actually both going to switch decks. So we're going to see a Warlock Mirror matchup here. So Mirrari has the Zoo Warlock, and Tom looks to be traditional Handlock.
And we see a Leper Gnome here, so Mirari's opted for some more damage in turn one minions. I mean, usually with the zoo, you just kind of see flame imps, void walkers, and abusive sergeants. But he's managed to squeeze in leper gnomes. And we were talking about how the rogue list is quite tight these days. I find the zoo list is starting to go down that path as well, because zoo is starting to fill up with bigger drops these days, like you see Sylvanas in Druid these days, and a zoo. You see Dr. Boom in zoo. You see the Mal'Ganis. Like, all these spots are being, these tech spots are being filled up with bigger drops. So I'm curious to see what he's cut for these leper gnomes.
Yeah, there are players that tend to go more towards the traditional zoo, but you're right. There's also a lot of drops, like in the mid range, that are like must-haves, like Imp Gang Boss and Implosion. Those are things that didn't exist a few months ago that now are auto-includes in every single zoo deck. So it makes the list even tighter as it goes on. So maybe he cut like... I'm trying to think of what are the one-drops, but the only one-drops they usually run are like one Flame Imp, Voidwalkers, and Abusive Sergeant. And it feels like those are all really important for the early game. So maybe he does run Dark Iron Dwarf, so this seems more like a classic zoo. He might top out at Doomguards, or maybe like a Sea Giant.
Maybe these leper gnomes are just to push extra damage, so maybe he's playing just a faster classic wall zoo here. But speaking of the NVIDIA finals the other day, a zoo player there was running Wolf Riders and Leroy, so he went a completely different way. So zoo is in an interesting spot now where it can take a few different paths on what its game plan is going to be, and it looks like Mirari's opted here to go for that more aggressive stance.
Yeah, zoo is just sort of innately strong. It's like an aggro deck, or I guess a lot of them are now going more towards like board control decks or tempo decks with an innate card draw mechanic with the hero power. So it's always going to be strong no matter how you build it, I feel.
But speaking of Tom here, like, Handlock is a good deck against zoo, I find.
If you have Moltons.
If you have Moltons, yeah, but the anti-heal bots can be very swingy for handlock players if they're playing against aggro. And we do
That's true.
see that Tom has a lot of good options here. He's got an anti-heal bot, he's got a belcher, he's got a siphon soul, he's got a shadow flame, so he's got a lot of ways to deal and hold back this zoo deck.
Yeah. He does want to draw into those moltens pretty quickly because you can stabilize all you want, but you're still going to be playing like one thing per turn for a while. And if you get to the point where your opponent can just burst you down through whatever taunts you have, if all you're doing is playing a sludge belcher next turn, it's going to be pretty rough.
We do see a Dark Bomb in Mirari's hand, so again, even more going for the game plan of a more aggressive zoo there. Dark Bomb being able to go face as well if he needs it to. So that's going to be, I think that's going to catch Tom by surprise, seeing a Dark Bomb in zoo, because it's generally not run that much anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I'm
Lilfed
surprised-
comes down.
Surprised he hasn't played the egg yet. I guess he's wanted to contest the board, but usually that's your protection against AoE, but he hasn't really needed protection against AoE so far. Right,
The thing with Mirari here, he's not even bothered about Molten Giants. He hit him down to 8 health. He was willing to bank that Tom won't be able to go Molten Argus or something like that, which could cause all sorts of problems for Mirari. So he's basically, his game plan here is just to kill him as fast as possible, and he's sticking with it regardless of what Tom has.
Yeah, I feel like most of the time you can't afford to play around Moltens when you're playing Zoo. Like, by the time you... Playing around Moltens gives your opponent time to draw into Moltens if they didn't have them. I think you just have to sort of take the risk. Just go for it. If they have Moltens, oh well, like you tried. But in unfavorable matchups like this, you have to sort of take risks when necessary. And I think that's a risk that you need to take.
So yeah, he's just going face again, hits him back down to 8 health, not afraid of Moltens. Like you said, taking these risks, just trying to close out this game as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Tom has some good answers in his hand, but they're all quite slow. That's the only problem.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I was just thinking. He needs to pop the egg or the spider, really. I think he needs to pop both of them and be able to get a good Shadow Flame off, but how do you do that?
Good bombs.
Oh, it seems he's not interested in Shadow Flame just... Oh, yes, he is. Okay.
Alright, yeah, this is sort of the middle ground between the two. He's going to set it up so where he leaves him with very little power on the board, still preserves his taunt. And so next turn he's going to have effective ways to deal with it. But yeah, at this point, there's no way he's going to play around Moltens because he was at 8 health and he didn't play anything. All he played was the heal bot. So he knows that if he does draw into Moltens, he's going to be top decking it. So, but Tom is on the verge of stabilization here. Mirari's running out of cards. Tom has a lot of tools to be able to keep himself in the game with some heals, with Earthring Farseer, with some Sludge Belchers to create walls. Oh. Wow. Tom just smiles and rolls his eyes.
That was clutch. That could have caused some problems for Mirari right there. He might have not had enough damage to do as much trading as he had liked, but fortunately for him, that Direwolf Alpha didn't go down. He's fighting strong. Oh! There he goes.
Oh, and now he doesn't have enough.
Is he
wow.
Oh!
That is pretty brutal. Oh man, he was banking on the fact that he'd have enough damage to kill the Dr. Boom with the Direwolf Alpha in between the egg, and he actually did. But when the Direwolf Alpha was killed, all of a sudden he didn't have it. I guess it doesn't matter too much, because the Void Walker trades in with the Dr. Boom, and at this point I don't know if you can afford to use a heal on Dr. Boom. I mean, I guess so. You could heal Dr. Boom, trade in, and then Sludge Belcher, but
you've seen a Dark Bomb at this point, though, so you've got to be a little bit worried about what direct damage Mirari can do.
That's true. He's out of cards, though, so he's going to be drawing 2 cards a turn. If you can... yeah, but leaving the Knife Juggler up seems not the best.
Implosion could ruin his day. He could tap into Implosion. maybe another knife juggler. There's a lot of things he can still draw into which are quite deadly. But I do agree. Yeah, I do like this play actually because it just keeps that Nat Taunt alive again for another turn, and he has to invest some more resources on the board. Unless he,
Whoa. Into Soulfire?
uh,
That would have been pretty rough if he had Dark Bombed into Soulfire for the win. I'm not sure if he runs Soulfire. There have been some lists that are super aggro that run like a lot of charged creatures, like you said, Wolf Rider and Leroy, that do throw in a copy of Soulfire for a little bit of extra burn.
imagine if that was a Doomguard. That would have been perfect.
Yeah.
He would have had 7 mana as well.
Yeah.
Oh man, Tom is fighting here.
Mortal Coil allows him to draw deeper into his deck and clear off one of these drops, but if he does that, he's basically resigning himself to just playing Sludge Belcher. But I guess it's not too bad.
He's seen 2 Dark Bombs now, so unless he, like you said, unless he runs Soulfire, he doesn't need to fear any kind of direct damage to the face. And once he clears his Juggler, the Implosion becomes a little less deadly because it doesn't throw knives at your face.
Yeah. I actually kind of like, I don't know, Mortal Coil and try and play Emperor here. Like Mortal Coil and then play
I was actually thinking about this play. This was going through my mind. After seeing the 2 Dark Bombs here, sitting on 1 health. Sitting on 1 health doesn't seem that bad. What direct damage? Oh, unless he gets another Knife Juggler.
It's a 50-50. Oh no.
Oh, man.
He sniped him. Wow, that's heartbreaking for Tom because you're right. You're expecting, okay, well, he's used both Dark Bombs. What direct damage could he possibly have that would kill me? Well, a rolling Knife Juggler into Flame Whip and then sniping the face is 1 damage. And Mirrari even used the thank you emote. That is just, whew. Oh, wow, he takes a 2-0 lead in the series.
I do like that Tom made that play. I think that was a winning play because if he had stabilized from there on, I don't think Mirrari would be able to come back. He had Siphon Soul. He could have drawn into Jiraxis. He had a lot of options in his hand and coming up. So I do like that play, but it's unfortunate that Mirrari, for Tom, that he did get that Knife Juggler and he did get that 50-50. So a good amount of luck on Mirrari's side there, but hopefully Tom's not too hinged from this. He's got this Patron Warrior coming out, and we've already seen what it's capable of in the first game.
Tom has switched decks all 3 times, or all the games. He started off with his Druid, and then he lost and went to Warlock, and now he lost again and went to Warrior. That's an interesting choice. It's something that you don't see players do often.
Maybe Tom feels a bit frustrated with some of the situations and the ways he's lost these last 2 games, because he's lost. I mean, apart from the last game, like the first game, we thought he was quite far ahead. He had Harrison, he had a good setup with his Druid, and all of a sudden this Patron Warrior just swung out of control. And then in that Zoo game, he lost to RNG. So maybe he's just frustrated with his decks, I think, and he just wants to try and get a win with the other one.
Yeah. And the Patron Warrior, I think, does have the best matchup against Hunter as far as his decks go. And this looks like, the Unstable Ghoul. That is... wow.
That is sweet. That is really sweet for Tom.
That's a pretty cool tech. It's not a tech that you see put in a lot of the times. Against... as a Patron Warrior. If you're expecting super fast, then yeah. It's not the... Actually, yeah, it's pretty bad.
The thing is with Patron, there's a lot of directions you can take the deck. People take the faster route with the double inner rages and try and go for that clean kill as fast as possible. Whereas some opt to play more for control and pick up all the combo pieces and then kind of finish them off. So they play stuff like Doctor Boom. They play like 2 Dread Courses and sometimes even Gnomish Inventors. So I think, like you said, the Unstable Ghoul is really good against stuff like Hunter. But maybe a faster version of Patron wouldn't run that. They'd opt to run something else, like an extra inner rage or something.
Yeah. So this is a situation that I want to talk about a little bit. A lot of people will say that just playing a knife juggler like that, especially when you have Unleash the Hounds, is not the right play. Especially since you want to weave in your hero power. But knife juggler can actually be a liability in this matchup. Knife juggler Unleash is a play that you'll rarely make when you're playing against Page and Warrior, because those juggles can sometimes do more harm than good, especially with Armor Smiths on the board, Acolytes on the board, Patrons on the board, even Frothing Berserkers on the board. So I like using Knife Juggler as sort of a way to deal 3 damage. Like throwing it on the board, knowing that it's going to get eaten by a weapon, is probably the best use that you're going to find for a Knife Juggler in the Hunter versus Patron Warrior matchup. So even though he has Unleashed, even though he wants to weave in hero powers as much as possible, throwing out the Knife Juggler early to like do the 3 damage while you can is probably the best use that you're going to get from it.
Yeah, I totally agree there. The Unleash the Hounds Knife Juggler combo has really poor interaction with a Patron deck. So, like you said, you don't want to give them anything extra. And the problem with that combo is it does interact poorly for the Hunter with their cards. Drawing cards, gaining armor, gaining attack, gaining patrons is just counterproductive for the Hunter. So, yeah, I totally agree with the Knife Juggler. Just getting thrown away there early, maybe soak up a weapon, maybe soak up a minion.
Yeah.
So Tom,
Well, that executes blocking our view of the health.
So Tom has an unknown amount of health. So there's 2 traps down. He's seen, if he was watching the previous set, he would have seen Snake. So he doesn't know what to expect yet because he hasn't seen this druid. I guess he's so an explosive trap will actually take out both the. Oh, he's got 8 health. Wow.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. At first, the Fire War Axe was blocking the view of health. I was like, I think he's getting pretty low. I don't know for sure, but he's taking a lot of damage from weapon swings. And he hasn't really been armoring up every turn. Because if you notice his last couple turns, last turn he played double Acolyte of Pain and then attacked into something. And using that Knife Juggler as a way to deal damage was actually really good. He also has Explosive Trap up and Freezing Trap up. And Eagle Horn Bow, and he has Unleash. I don't know really if there's a way that Tom can win this. He's just taking too much damage so far. He's going to need to like piece together a win. And I actually think that, yeah, he can attack. 2 damage wins the game here because he's got 6, 7, 8. Yeah, any 2 damage wins the game. Oh wow, that's probably the worst draw he could have gotten.
Yeah, he's probably hoping for a charge minion. Maybe even a animal companion would have been helpful there, as long as he doesn't get Misha.
Yeah.
He needs an Armor Smith. That's what he needs.
I actually would have liked to use Unleash there. Actually, I don't know. Because I don't know if you're ever going to get more than 3. Because if these attack in, they're going to hit the Explosive Trap and they're all going to die.
But I don't think Tom's got a way to come back here. Without an Armor Smith, what can he do?
He has to win, like, this turn. And he doesn't have a Whirlwind effect. No Whirlwind effects. That's crazy to think that he's been through so much of his deck and doesn't even have a single Whirlwind effect. He's got all the other pieces. Like Warsong Commander with a bunch of creatures on board and a Frothing Berserker going into an Explosive Trap is like what you want, because everything takes damage.
I think his play. Oh, I don't know about this. Unless he, like you said, unless he can win. I would have liked to see maybe an Inventor the fish for an Armor Smith, but he obviously doesn't know what Mirrari has available to him.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. That's another quick series. Mirrari's going to take this one 3-0, and going into a pretty rough matchup. Patron Warrior usually has the advantage against Face Hunter, and he even had a good opening hand. He had Armor Smith into the Unstable Ghoul, so he was able to control the board early. He just took way too much damage, and he didn't draw into enough life gain to be able to survive long enough to piece together a lethal. And our second 3-0 of the day.
I think Mirrari's probably happy with this win. I mean, Tom is such a strong player of his scene, but also a strong international presence as well. And Mirrari, you know, he just 3-0'd like one of the best players in Asia, quite convincingly as well. So yeah, I think Mirrari is probably really happy with this victory so far, and he moves on to the grand finals, which he'll play another Asian player, KGG. So it's going to be Europe versus Asia in the finals.
Yeah. Yeah, Mirrari will move on to face KDG, like you said. Tom will move down to face um, Deck Buckbeard. I was about to say Deckbeard. I was like, that doesn't sound right. He's going to move down to face Buckbeard in the third place match. So the third place match is going to be the next match that we broadcast. Like I said, Tom versus Buckbeard. There is money on the line, and there is Geico points on the line. So third place does get 7 Geico points, 1 Hearthstone World Championship point, and $50. Whereas fourth place gets only 5 Geico points, 1 Hearthstone World Championship point as well, and no money. So it's a difference of $50 and a difference of 2 Geico points. So, like we said earlier, those Geico points are actually super important. It allows you to qualify for a feature tournament or qualify for the grand finals at PAX without even having to win one of these. So the more consistently you place in these tournaments, if you make it into a couple of these qualifier finals and you don't win, but you start racking up those Geico points, they can really start adding up and allow you to make it to these big tournaments without having to win one of these qualifiers.
And there are plenty of qualifiers to play, and there's 16 open qualifiers
Mhm.
altogether. So there's a lot of chances for you to accumulate these Geico points and secure that spot in the LAN at the end of the open tournament series.
Yeah.
So get involved in these tournaments. Sign up on the webpage for the next one, and keep playing. You never know, if you start placing relatively high a few times, you might have the most Geico points at the end of the tournament series, and you'll be able to go to the finals.
Yeah, you can sign up at Liquid Hearth. The next qualifier, I do believe, is on Tuesday. That's the North American qualifier. You don't have to be from North America to participate. You just have to have you have to be participating on the North American server. So you have to have cards on the North American server. Yeah, next Tuesday is the qualifier one, and then we'll have the feature tournament next weekend, and then start up the following week with the next EU qualifier. So make sure you head over there. Also, you can head over to geico.onog.gg. On that website, you can get all the information about the upcoming tournaments, the upcoming qualifiers. You can get a Geico quote. Of course, none of this would be possible without Geico. And you can enter to win an official TSM PC. The specs are ridiculous. It's one of the best computers I've seen. And it's an official TSM PC. So if you're a TSM fan, you can head over there as well. But the next matchup is going to be the third place match between Tom60229 and Buckbeard. So once again, guys, do not go anywhere. More One Nation to Gamers Summer Circuit action right after this break.